So the last video I covered on the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel was the SAPPHIRE Pulse RX 5700. Now, I finally have been sent the XT variety. It's slightly bigger brother. It took a while to get to me because of it was going around all the reviewers and stuff, but I finally got my hands on it, and so let's check out what this card is capable of. Running AMD's RDNA gaming architecture using the 7nm processor, the SAPPHIRE Pulse RX 5700 XT has 2560 stream processors that run a boost clock of up to 1925 MHz and a game clock of 1815. Plus, it's got 8GB of GDDR6 memory. So the card has dual-X cooling technology, and with intelligent fan control, it allows this card to maintain a perfect harmony between great cooling and low noise levels. It really does seem to run as quiet as a mouse, as I've yet to really hear the RX 5700 XT over my case fans. The fans themselves feature dual ball bearings and have an 85% longer lifespan and are 10% quieter over previous models. Also, with Quick Fan Connect, it allows you to quickly replace a fan without having to return the card to the manufacturer. The SAPPHIRE Pulse RX 5700 XT offers a quick dual BIOS switch that can be found on the side of the card that allows convenient switching from performance to silent modes. The card can handle up to 4 screens at once, and 3 of those ports are display ports, and one of them is HDMI 2.0. The card is VR friendly and requires an 8 and 6 pin power connector, and we suggest a 650 watt power supply. Sapphire's DNA is to deliver a top quality build, and with a 12-layer PCB and added fuse protection and a solid metal back plate, you're in safe hands. Not only have you got a reliable product, but you've also got something that looks stylish and quite beautiful. SAPPHIRE Plus presents the new updated Tricks software that gives you an overview of your card specs, monitors your hardware performance, and within the Tricks Boost tab you're able to effortlessly downscale multiple resolutions at once using the slider to increase performance. Of course, you will lose some image quality, but honestly, downscaling a 4K image by 15% and comparing the footage, I really struggle to see the difference. But what I can feel is definitely the performance increasing, getting more frames on my mouse when playing in games, keeping me more immersed in the game itself rather than worrying about lag issues. Now, if you happen to be playing a lot of games on DirectX 9 or DirectX 12, you should be able to take advantage of Radeon Image Sharpening Tool. This incredible feature almost has zero performance loss and can really help those subtle textures pop and give you more depth and details in your games. So let's check out some benchmarks results using Rise of the Tomb Raider running at DirectX 12 on highest settings, and I will be comparing the SAPPHIRE Pulse 5700 to the SAPPHIRE Pulse 5700 XT. First, I ran the results at the standard resolutions such as 4K, 1440p and 1080p on the Pulse RX 5700. Here we scored 44 frames at 4K, and at 1440p we got 85 frames per second, and at 1080p 125 frames per second. On the Pulse RX 5700 XT we see 52 frames at 4K, 100 frames at 1440p and 142 frames at 1080p. Now, while it's not a massive jump in performance at the 4K mark with only 8 frames difference, when running at 1440p and 1080p we see a much larger gap adding up with 15 to 20 frames difference. The RX 5700 XT excels at these resolutions. Next, we ran the same benchmark again, but this time we downscaled the resolutions by 15% and added in the Radeon Image Sharpener and compared the scores between both cards. 1836p is the downscaled resolution of 4K by 15%, and on the Pulse RX 5700 we scored 58 frames per second, almost hitting the 60 FPS mark, which is fairly impressive. Now, downscaling at 1440p we scored 102 frames, and downscaling at 1080p 140. Now, I wouldn't really recommend downscaling from 1080p as well. It adds more pixelation, and both the 5700 and the 5700 XT handle 1080p so well, it just seems a bit unnecessary. Now, the Pulse 5700 XT at the downscaled 4K resolution we got 69 frames per second, at downscaled at 1440p 126, and at 1080p we downscaled again and got 150 frames per second. Overall, the card is incredibly capable at 1440p and 1080p, no doubt, and no need to really downscale a lot of the time, but it's super nice to have more performance options if you want to squeeze out more FPS, especially at the 4K mark and the 1440p mark using the Tricks software and the Radeon Image Sharpener. Another useful feature is Radeon Anti Lag. That's designed to reduce input latency. Normally when your GPU is at max capacity, the CPU will still continue to process new frames, which means you can often find the CPU processing multiple frames ahead of the GPU. Radeon Anti Lag works out this problem by preventing the CPU from getting more than a frame or two ahead of the GPU. This makes it possible to reduce the lag between what's being processed by the computer and what you see on the monitor. Generally, we can see up to a full frame of latency removed. This can actually make playing at 60 FPS feel more like playing somewhere around 90 or even 120 FPS. What makes this card a great pickup right now is not only just the price to performance ratio in the current market, but also just the reliability that Sapphire offer with all their cards. They have some of the best cooling solutions out there in the industry, and the Dual-X cooler does a fantastic job of keeping your card cool, but incredibly quiet at the same time. The card is jam-packed filled with features to help you optimize the way that you want to play. If you're looking for a bit more performance out of a certain title, you can simply downscale resolutions using the Treacy software at a touch of a button, making it super easy to get more performance out of that certain game. You can then add the details back in using the Radeon image sharpener, which has pretty much a zero performance loss, like maybe a frame or two at most, which is absolutely insane to get so many extra details popping back into your games. And then you have the Radeon Anti Lag feature that helps keep your mouse inputs more consistent throughout your gaming experiences. This gives you a superb combo of features that help your gaming experience immensely. It's definitely a card worth checking out, especially if you've been sitting on the fence waiting to upgrade for a while, or if you're looking to buy a brand new computer and only have a small budget to work with. This could be the performance that you're looking for the right price point. So check it out, make sure to do your research, and good luck, have fun out there, and happy hunting.